Yeah, I think honestly, the last three games, our first three games, we talk a lot about our mantra being grit this year. And even in the Teal game, I was so happy with how much grit that they showed at how hard they played. And then for us to go on the road, tough travel for us going all the way up to North Dakota. How was this group going to handle that? And we were put in some tough, adverse situations on the road, and they didn't fold. They didn't quit. They really buckled down and showed that toughness and that grittiness on the road. And so that was, for me, the biggest positive that came out of North Dakota. Obviously, I think we did some things much better in the second half up there. Made some corrections at halftime, and our kids really locked into that. When you go to Michigan State, obviously you're going against a really, really a high caliber of an opponent there, top 25. Your margin for error is really small, both offensively and defensively. But the last 2 weeks I've been very, very pleased with our prep and how we've handled that with especially a young group. And even, the prep that we had for Michigan State, it was very different. We were going to see full court pressure. I thought they handled that for the most part very well, and did some different things, ball screen coverage that we hadn't shown. So a lot of positives, that I think we took out of these first three games. Still got a long way to go, a lot of room to grow and get better, but we're definitely going to take the positives and continue to get better.
What are some of those things you think you need to work on? I mean, you're going up against, one of the top 25 teams in the country. What do you think that you need to do going into, the rest of non-con and conference schedule?
Yeah, I will say one thing I'm really not happy about is our rebounding. I look at that last night, and again, I know that they're bigger. The second chance points, was very significant in that game. And I feel that's a big strength of our group going forward, but we feel like we can just out-jump people right now. We have to put a body on people. Right now our best rebounder is our point guard, Casey Santora, and she's 5'4", and she gets in there. She's got a lot of heart, a lot of grit. So I really want to see a much improved rebounding effort going forward.
Faith is, obviously started the season coming off the bench, but she's, put together a couple of double-figure scoring games coming off the bench for you guys. Is that, how has she kind of settled into that role, and how do you feel like she's adjusted to that?
We've talked a lot about it, in the summer and in the fall of what her role is going to be, this year and how much energy she can provide for us coming off the bench. And I think she's done that very well. I thought she was great last night at Michigan State. She brought a huge spark. She brought a level of toughness. She was fearless out there. And it really, she had a lot of success with that. So she knows that she can come in and she can be really aggressive on the glass. She can play a certain type of way. And I think she's settled into that role fairly nicely.
You said that you saw a lot of fight from your team against one of the best in the country. Do you think you're seeing the level of intensity that you like throughout all the games this season so far?
I would say at times, I thought Teal, we played really hard for 35 minutes. I think at North Dakota there were spurts, where we had some lulls, especially early on. And then last night, for the most part, I thought most of our kids fought. There were some, that were very passive and very tentative. And against a Big Ten opponent, you can't have that. So, and we talked about, again, this team has goals and aspirations to be in a really, spot, a really important spot come February and March. And in order for us to be in that position, we got to play hard and we got to not play on our heels like we are right now.
You can't really coach that. You can't really teach that. How would you say you could improve that, the intensity of your team, being together, things like that?
Yeah, I can put them in different situations in practice and make it really hard for them in practice. And we did that, going into the Michigan State game. But they got to play through it right now. We're still, fairly young at some of those positions. Some people are playing new positions right now. So, but they got to continue to play and they got to continue to grow through that.
It seems like just kind of picked up what she left off,
Yeah.
Last year. She like three, legendary freshman of the week honors last year before the injury, and then first week of the season she gets just on some good performances last week. How have you seen her kind of be able to bounce back from the injury and just kind of, pick up where she left off?
Yeah, I think, the last couple games, have hopefully given her a huge confidence boost. Especially at North Dakota, the way that they were guarding us, left her wide open for a lot of high post jumpers, and she's a great shooter, from 15 to 18-foot range, and can really knock that down. And so we were gonna, go with what they were giving us, and she was really confident in that. But both offensively, obviously defensively, she provides, just a lot of basketball IQ out there for us, toughness. She's got great feet. She's got great ball screen coverage. So we love having her back out there. And I really don't think she's missed a beat at all. But what I do think the last couple games that have provided her is a lot more confidence going forward.
Caitlin, you guys announced the signings for both Evelyn and Caitlin earlier today. I know they were pretty high targets for you guys on the recruiting trail. What do they kind of bring to this program, and what are you kind of excited to see from them, in the future?
Yeah, well, they both come from great high school programs. Have been to the state finals. Obviously Caitlin won the championship last year. Evelyn was a semi-finalist as a sophomore. So they're winners. They play for a great AAU program in SMAC, who I've had great relationships with here in Northeast Ohio. So was really happy to keep them in state. And get them here to Youngstown. Have recruited them both for a really long time. Evelyn, I've been eyeing that kid since she was 5 years old. She used to come to my camp. She would win every single award. So I knew back then that she probably had a chance. And so that's a really special, cool signing for me. And then Caitlin brings unbelievable versatility to obviously a very well-established post group, but I think she will fit in really well with the players that we have returning. And then Evelyn's going to provide some really great length and athleticism and a great mid-range game at that point guard position.
With the respective skill sets and the physical assets, how do they kind of fit into the system and the style that you want to play and that you want to win?
Well, they both like to play fast, right? And that's important, especially at that point guard position. Evelyn can really get the ball up the floor. Obviously her size, at 5'10" for the point guard position is gonna be huge for us. She can see over a defender. She can really, get that ball up the floor quickly. And then she can score. She can really score the ball at all three levels. And then Caitlin, again, continues with that versatility in the post. She's super long at 6'3", an elite shot blocker, which I think will really fit, with what we're trying to do defensively. And so we're excited about their growth. And yet they only have one more year of high school.